we are in continuing coverage is because it's a moment of great seriousness and gravitas, a moment which we have to traverse. I'm employing as much care and caution and caveats and balance that is required. But let us not ignore or completely belittle or dismiss that in the due process that must now take place and is taking place, it's happening, okay, that there is an issue, a concern. Now there will be everybody who has any grouse with any judge at any level, okay, who will now use this as a pretext, as a precedent. Who knows what Pandora's box we've opened, but potentially now any person who has a problem with any judgment can say, oh, the judge is corrupt, okay, that, well, precedent exists of corrupt judges or money being found. Perception gets done that this is common practice, that this is only the guy who got caught potentially, that lawyers and judges all deal with large amounts of cash. These perceptions are very damaging to the system. And like I said, the timelines, because the Supreme Court, I know this for a fact, does not have a public facing mechanism other than its website. They don't have a spokesperson. The registrar is not empowered to come and address the media or to send out tweets to the effect, to address public discourse. This is primarily done to maintain the dignity of the court. Now we have a precedent of judges who have held press conferences, but it's very, very rare. So there is no mechanism, and what is an absurd amount of time for people is a very deliberate amount of time for court. So having put those caveats out there, let me now rope in Vikas Singh joining us on the broadcast. He's held various positions as various officers of the court, of course, is a senior advocate as well. Vikas ji, first of all, what do you make of the decision of the Chief Justice of India to late last night publish all the written records, videography and photography into the public domain? Was that the right decision?
Well, I personally feel that there was so much of rumor mongering going on and there was so much of misinformation spreading. So as they always say, that the best disinfectant is sunlight. So it was putting it out in the open is definitely a welcome step, because at least people know what is the real reason. But the one question which has remained a little unanswered, so to say, I would say that there has been amounts discussed, and in all the papers that have been shown by the Chief Justice of India or which has come out, there is no amount mentioned. Obviously, nobody has counted any money. Obviously, the money was removed the next day, apparently, because those sacks of money are mentioned in the report of the fire officer. That's the only way you hear about sacks of money being there in that room. Now, the judge has given an explanation which he says that it was not his and he was not aware. But if it was not his and if he was nothing to do with it, why did he get the place cleaned the next day morning? I mean, he has to justify that. He should have left it as it is. I mean, if there was something wrong done by somebody else, he should have left the room just as it was. And the fact that the whole place was cleaned up by the time the visit of the chief of the team of the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court came, establishes that there was an attempt to cover up. Now, whatever be it, if somebody had planted the money, let me assume somebody has planted the money, the same person would not have taken away the money after it has been disclosed that it has been planted. So obviously somebody else has taken away the money from that place. And that is something which is a little, upsetting, so to say, because otherwise, if you look at the explanation of the judge, a lot of it is quite credible. But the only lack of credibility is his cleaning up the place the next day and removing those sacks of notes which were there in that room. So I think that will, really nail him in the long run, because so far, that particular video which has gone viral of those money, and that video actually doesn't show how much money is there. It shows that there are some scattered notes lying there, and there is a voiceover of somebody saying ki Gandhi ji jal rahe hain. So that really is the only evidence against the judge of having kept money in that place. So
Okay.
cleaning up that place really will be a. So
Okay.
probably his phone has been taken away. His calls record will be taken, seen. Who all he talked after this fire broke out, etc. How did he communicate with people? Whoever ultimately did the cleanup action. All that will have to be looked into, and I'm sure in this swift inquiry, something should come out very soon.
Okay. Now, the concerned issues, Vikas Singh, are of course very serious because we don't have a playbook, we don't have an SOP, we don't have a clearly defined plan of action on what happens next. But if this had been an ordinary person, a citizen of India, and a fire was reported in which any officer, whether fire officer or police officer, as a respondent, noticed large sums of suspicious monies, what would have been the otherwise procedure?
So, I personally feel that forget anybody else. Even in this case, there has definitely been a lapse of some sort. And the lapse has been that whenever the money was discovered there in that room and that video was taken, the police should have come and sealed that place. Whatever may happen, whether it is the judge's real money or whether the judge has kept that money or not kept that money, I don't see why they left the place and went away without sealing that place. Because if they had sealed the place, then whatever evidence that was there in that room of that money lying there, that would have remained intact. Now the judge has got a good excuse. He says there's nothing, no money recovered from my place. If there is no money recovered, you can't go on a simple video, which is very difficult to prove because that video also is in the dark. You really don't know which room that video has been taken in, and whether it is the same room or some other room, or whether that is money or that is monopoly money. I mean, all those questions will arise. So a big, huge lapse has taken place as far as not sealing the place is concerned. The police should have definitely sealed the place, waited for the judge to come and asked him to explain, etc. The other part that you asked me of what would have happened to a common man, I feel that there is a certain amount of protection given to higher judicial officers, and rightly so, that they should be protected from frivolous cases. And for that purpose, the consent of the Chief Justice of India is required before you register a case. In a common man's case, a case would have been registered there and there. In this case, it can't be. But not registering a case is one part. I mean, you don't have the right to register a case is one part. But you definitely had a right to seal the place and keep it sealed or keep it intact till the Chief Justice of India or anybody who had to take an action in the matter took the action in the matter, and this seal should not have been removed without the permission of the Chief Justice of India. So that is a huge lapse in my way,
Okay.
in my view,
Now-
and
now- now
that will go a
we-
long way in exonerating the judge if they don't have any other evidence apart from that video graph which is
Okay, so
circulating
now we
around.
don't know because in all the documents that have been released, we have a summary of what the Delhi police report to the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court is. We do not actually have the Delhi police report or his submissions other than the videography. Now, it is possible that the Delhi police in situ on site actually tabulated what items were available and recorded these items, or we don't know because, like I said, a formal procedure of an FIR and Panchnama in this case, to the best of our knowledge, has not happened because an FIR as it is cannot be launched without permission of the Chief Justice. So let us assume, Vikas Singh, the best case scenario that the Delhi police actually tabulated what they saw, not simply videographed it. Would such a tabulation, if it's not in the form of a Panchnama, it's an ad hoc tabulation, would this be admissible as evidence?
No, again, that is again a problem. That will also not be admissible in evidence. And Rishabh, you tell me, even if you've done a tabulation or done a counting, or if you had some numbers with you of money being there, then the first thing you do is to seize the money. You don't leave the money there behind and leave it unattended like that. So you have to seize the money. You have to make it case property, even if you don't register the FIR. I would say that probably they could not have even seized the money, but they could have definitely sealed the place, made it completely secure from any tampering, so that the place is available for the Chief Justice of India to take a decision as to what should be done in this case. Now, just look at an example where somebody goes into the outhouse of the judge's residence, which is not being used by the judge. Then just look at the contra side and puts some money, and then burns that money, and then takes some small videos which are not which can't be proved as evidence, and then removes the money, which is quite a possibility. In this country, anything can happen. Then do you nail the judge for that? So that is why this room with the money intact should have been preserved, and nobody stopped them from doing that. That was not something which is barred by the judgment of the Supreme Court. Preserving a particular fact situation for the Chief Justice of India to take a decision whether this is a judge which can be said to be culpable or not was actually the most important thing to do. And leaving it like that, I think the Delhi police has committed a huge blunder in this case. And this will actually create too many doubts in everybody's mind. The only thing that comes to my mind is that if the place was left for the judge to deal with on his own, and if he has cleaned up the place, then that is the only small indicator which may go against him.
Okay.
But I don't know really whether he cleaned it or he'll say, I even before I came, somebody else cleaned it. All those things are giving that rife for speculation, which will give us a lot of ammunition to doubt the whole transaction.
Vikas ji, possession of cash, of course, is not a crime. I mean, we all have a few banknotes in our wallets. So at what point of time does it become a suspicious amount?
No, so possession of crime is not a problem as long as you are able to account for it. So supposing in the last month he had withdrawn 2 lakhs from his account, and the month before also he'd withdrawn 1 lakh. If he had 3 lakhs in his residence, obviously he can justify 3 lakhs. But if he has 15 crore or a couple of crores, obviously nobody can justify withdrawing crores and keeping it at their residence. And that will not tally with his bank statement as well. So the problem is not really of how much cash. The problem is that there is no cash here in this case. There is no amount mentioned here. There is no counting of that has happened of what is the cash. If that video is to be seen, the video at best, if you see the number of notes scattered here and there, it could be maybe 20, 30 notes. That's all. I mean, there is a bundle and you can see only one note. So not actually keeping the place sealed in such a situation, especially when the judge was not there, according to me, is completely making the whole case completely questionable.
Vikas ji, can a forensic examination still be conducted? Now we are looking 8 days, 9 days later.
I doubt what kind of forensic can be done. If there are videos in the judge's house, or if there are videographies happening in the judge's house or around the house which are being preserved, then probably that video can show what is happening in that house after the fire that broke out. But I don't think there will be videos inside the house. And if there are no videos, then there will be nothing there to look into. And I don't even think there could be any forensic, except if one of the staff of the judge who has been responsible in cleaning up the place, opens up and speaks of exactly what happened after the cleaning up happened. So that is a long shot, because somebody who's working with somebody, very unlikely for him to depose against him. So that's the only small window available for the investigation to happen. Apart from that, I don't think there is anything credible to nail the judge, which is hanging on a very, very I would say thin piece of evidence, which is that videography which has been taken by some fireman, and which is also not a clear videography of what is happening inside. Or all that report of the fireman which says that there were sacks of money. Sacks of money could mean anything. Could be small sacks, could be big sacks. It doesn't even mention how much money, or did he check the whole sack, whether it was the whole sack was full of money, or there was one note on the top. I mean, there are so many questions unanswered, which ultimately, if the judge goes for a regular trial, I don't know what will happen as far as his service is concerned, but if he goes for a regular criminal trial, it will be almost impossible to prove.
Okay, Vikas Singh, but then there is other complex matters, because now, like it or not, Anybody who has any grouse, well-meaning or otherwise, with the legal system will now say that this is an open secret, that the entire system is operating on large wads of cash. You open enough cupboards and enough outhouses and more stuff will pour out. What do we do with that perception that gets created?
So that perception is of course a damage to the institution which has already happened, and that's why I say that the press also should be responsible in reporting things. Without knowing the full facts, this kind of reporting can do more damage than good. And as far as the credibility part is concerned, I'm sure the judiciary will have to, especially the Karta of the judiciary, the Chief Justice of India, will have to take steps, to try and weed out the black sheep from the system. And that can easily be done because I've always maintained that there are peddlers of justice who are on the streets everywhere. And if they are nabbed and if they are, taken into task, taken into custody, they can spill the beans if they actually are doing peddling or they are just selling the name of the judge without the judge even being aware. So all these are issues which I think should be looked at in the days to come, and an impression should be given to the people that judiciary will not tolerate corruption, and that this organization, this institution is going to be on zero tolerance as far as corruption is concerned.
Okay, the last question, sir, because for people who are now thinking that, look, other judges will then judge upon their fellow judges, that there might be an inherent issue with that. Is it sufficient that this matter be adjudicated only by an in-house inquiry?
No, so in-house inquiry is not for the purpose of taking a final call on what is to happen in the matter. In-house inquiry is only for the purpose of up to a particular threshold. Once the in-house inquiry feels that there is some credence in what has been reported, then the law will take its own course, and I think the matter will have to go to the CBI and the ED and whichever are the enforcement agencies or the Delhi police to investigate the matter and take it further. But as I told you earlier, these agencies will also face the same problem which I just mentioned about the lack of evidence and the not maintaining or not keeping sealed the place where this whatever had happened was discovered in the manner in which it was.
So you only have the videography and potentially the testimony of the people or the police officers and the fire services, and that can be argued as hearsay without anybody having actually counted anything and therefore deposited it and kept it in record, or as Vikas Singh said, at least sealed the place until the registrar or other officer of the court arrived to have it opened. We are in for a tough one because, like it or not, there are going to be many detractors, baiters, naysayers who are going to use this as a stick to hang for a long period of time a Damocles sword off. Vikas Singh, thank you for taking it with as much practicality as one can.